Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the February 14th, 2023 Development Review Commission hearing. The Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, businesses, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning by promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interests of public health, safety, and general welfare. Any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its decision. Development Review Commission recommendations to the City Council are not final decisions. Today, with us on the podium, we have alternate Commissioner Rhiannon Corbett and Charles Redmond, Commissioners Don Cassano, Barbara Lloyd, and Linda Spears, Vice Chairman Andrew Johnson, and I'm Chairman Mike DiDomenico. With us today from staff, joining us is City Manager Andrew Ching, Jeff Tamulevich, Ryan LeVay, Saparna Dasgupta, Lee Jimenez, and Joanna Berry, and Eddie Garcia manning the comm. And no Steve, just used to having Steve over there. Just a reminder, if you are here in public, get our attention if your purpose is to actually be heard on a case. If you want to speak at the podium, fill out one of these cards, get it in to us as soon as possible so that we don't miss you. If you are joining us on WebEx, just note that there's a chat box on WebEx. It's not monitored. Don't put messages in there or ask questions because no one's going to see your comments or respond back to you, and then you're going to get frustrated and angry. And so that's just the chat's there because that's part of the software, but it's not something that's used during the course of a meeting. If you wish to be heard, you will be given 3 minutes to speak. If there's not a lot of people who are attempting to speak, I probably will be a little looser with that amount of time since we don't have a lot of people, I don't believe, tonight who wish to be heard live. But again, respect everyone's time and get to your points and make them. We went in our study session through the agenda, and it is our intention, we are going to vote on 2 sets of minutes from the January 10th study session, a regular meeting, and also the street naming case, which is item number 3 on our agenda. Our intention is to vote in a singular motion and to pass those 3 items as part of what's called our consent agenda. Is anybody here because they want to hear or be heard on those items? Seeing none, the consent agenda will remain as stated. The other 2 items, items 4 and 5, will both be heard in that order, and everyone will get a chance to ask questions and be heard if you wish to. Saying all of that, I will entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Commissioner Cassano.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented by you.
Chairman, sorry.
Can we do the minutes
You may
separately?
have to take the minutes separate from the
I'll
consent
revise
agenda.
my motion, then I will make a motion for approval of the Design Review Commission study session of January 10th, 2023, and the Commission's regular meeting of January 10th, 2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Cassano and seconded by Vice Chair Johnson for approval of the minutes, the 2 sets of minutes. Just to make note for the record, 5 of the commissioners here this evening were in attendance for those meetings, and they will be voting on it. And alternate commissioners, Redmond, you were not for here, and alternate Commissioner Corbett, so they will be abstaining from voting on the minutes. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0 with 2 abstentions. Item number 3, our consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Casano and seconded by Vice Chair Johnson. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 4. This is the request for a use permit to allow a tobacco retail for Stogies, 925 West Baseline Road. Is the applicant here? Come up to the podium. We're going to have you give a presentation. You'll start by just giving us your name and city of residence. You don't need to give us an exact address.
Sure. Hi, hello, Commission. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. My name is Peter DeHabra. I'm going to be presenting to you the plan for Stogies, if approved, at 925 West Baseline Road. Oh, and I live in Northridge, California. That's my current address.
Thank you. Why don't you,
Oh, continue?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
start off by just giving your presentation, and we're going to ask some questions. I'm sure there's going to
Absolutely.
be some. You'll get a chance to respond to us. Then we'll have the staff will give their presentation. We'll take comments and questions from the public. You'll get a chance to come back and respond to all of that. So take notes. Don't worry about it. You'll have plenty of time to get to everything.
Thank you so much, Commission. It's a privilege and honor to be here with you today, especially on this Valentine's Day. I know that you could be doing so many other things. Last thing you want to do is listen to a brute like myself. So I'm going to do my best to present to you what has been a long time due for us to begin a new chapter of our lives in Tempe. The subject of discussion today is a permit approval from this commission here for 925 West Baseline Road, Suite 101. We arrived at this particular location to submit our application for a lease agreement after surveying multiple locations and conducting some data analysis and customer surveys with people from the community, asking them what would they like to see here, and just getting a verbal recognition of if they were in support of this particular project. We received some positive feedback, giving us some sort of confidence in submitting this application and being here today for this approval. The mission statement of Stogies, I believe, reflects a great need in regards to tobacco retail shops. Stogies provides an elevated tier of service to professionals who enjoy tobacco and non-tobacco products in an environment conducive to upholding the highest integrity of professionalism that is dedicated to avoiding commonly held stigmas associated with shops that sell smoking products. I'd like you to picture this for a moment. You've had a long week at work. On Valentine's Day, you had a commission hearing, and you had to hear about an application for approval for a retail tobacco shop. You would like to have a cigar next to your pool and enjoy your Friday night. You walk into the store, you're greeted with the utmost of professionalism. You see a humidifier room, state of the art. You walk in, you see that all the cigars are in top high-end quality. You select your favorite cigar, you go home and you enjoy it. You enjoy that you walk into an upscale smoke shop that does not tolerate underage sales, indoor smoking, or loitering around the premise that would contribute to deteriorating the sanctity and integrity of the community that it's present in. It's my privilege and honor to say that's Stogies, and welcome. I'd like to explain to you what exactly is Stogies, and then I'm gonna compare that to what it isn't. Because today what's really important is for me to explain to you, to the commission, what we are and what we are not. What we are, Stogies Group, is a respectful business. It's a great opportunity for us to work hard, provide for our families, and have a chance at the American dream. Stogies is a company that follows city ordinances and laws that pertain to zoning. It's an opportunity to be a positive influence in tobacco stores' perception, given the stigma that is typically associated. We are working hard to redefine the current definition of a retail tobacco store by providing high-end products, high-end customer service that completely revolutionizes, redefines what the current perception is of a tobacco store. What is Stogie not? What it isn't a business that's close to schools. It isn't a business that is close to daycare centers. It isn't a business that tolerates underage sales. It's not a business that is conducive to illegal activity or promotes, but yet prohibits such activity. Stogies is also not inconsiderate to the neighborhood and their concerns that they have generously shared with us. I'd like to share a few of the achievements of Stogies Group. We operate 3 successful stores, and proudly we declare we have never ever been subject to disciplinary actions such as judgments or orders curbing or suspending the business operation, never ever in our history. And there's a reason why. We scan all identification cards to confirm age. We uphold the highest integrity in our business operations. And we are also successful advocates of educating other businesses in underage sale prevention. The way we do this is that we actively reach out to businesses in the same industry and like to encourage responsible business and industry operations to hopefully eliminate underage sales for the betterment of the community at large. One particular case study I'd like to share with you today is the case study of Calabasas. In Calabasas, we uphold strict standards enforced and followed to preserve the integrity and peace of the city. Furthermore, in the entire city of Calabasas, we are the only trusted, there's not another single retail tobacco store in the entire city of Calabasas that is licensed tobacco and non-tobacco product stores to be permitted to operate in the entire city. And the reason why is because everything I'm here to tell you today is absolutely true. We are redefining the actual operation of tobacco and non-tobacco product stores. I want to share with you how we do this, how we've been so successful in eliminating underage sales, reducing it, prohibiting it, and the like. We have a verification system, and we have displays that annihilate any possible violation of city ordinances and laws in which we operate. On the left picture, you'll see 2 signs at the front door, the top of which says, "No one under the age of 21 is allowed inside, and be prepared to present your ID." Why? Because the new register only unlocks with a valid ID. So without an ID, ladies and gentlemen, members of the commission, you cannot buy a product from our store. Without an ID, we can't confirm your age. Without an ID, there is no underage sales. Not that there would be, should there. To the right of this picture, you see how the identification card, a legitimate one, would be scanned. On the further right, you'll see the green light that gives us the opportunity to actually conduct the sale. We've heard the concerns of the community. Not only do we agree with them, but we actually, in hindsight, believe that they're actually supporting Stogies because of how we're going to preserve the community values. Signs will be posted declaring no entry to those under the age of 21, and no smoking will be tolerated. That's inside, outside, near the establishment, or within 20 feet of the building. Furthermore, in order for us to protect our character and the definition of who we are, if we happen to find people who are violating these procedures, these protocols, these company policies, they will not be welcome to buy products from our store because they are contributing to an image that we do not share. Now for a moment, let's discuss public displays and signs. Like many of the comments, we too agree with them. And like I said earlier, I believe that their opposition is actually a support of Stogies if they knew, which I'm here today to explain to them who we are. On baseline, products and accessories will not be blatantly displayed through windows. No product advertisement or sales promotions. On Hardy Drive, which leads into a residential community, there'll be no advertisements or product displays. It's our endeavor to declare to every parent, every guardian, every school teacher, nurse, anyone who cherishes children from viewing these kind of products, to know that we are working side by side with them to make sure that those of legal age can enjoy their legal right to do so. Here, I'd like to share with you our humidifier room. On the right side, you'll see on the top, from the outside looking in, on the bottom from the inside looking out, and our selection of high-end product cigars. And in the middle on the bottom, our proud license, our tobacco license to operate in the city of Calabasas. Again, the only and trusted licensed retail tobacco store in the city. With that, members of the commission, thank you very much for your time. It's certainly been an honor to be here with you to present Stokey's Group and our wishful endeavors. Happy Valentine's Day, and I would greatly appreciate questions. Thank you.
Thank you. 3 locations, existing locations. This would be a 4th?
Well, we're pivoting. Our plan is to move to Arizona. So eventually it would be this one.
Okay, so existing locations that you're involved in operating are what cities?
In California, Southern California.
Okay.
Sylmar, Winnetka.
And Calabasas.
Yes.
Thank you. Other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Lloyd.
So your name is Stogies. Can you expand a little bit on what your inventory is and what your primary sales consist of?
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Smoking accessories, cigars, cigar accessories, hats, caps, T-shirts, vapes, beverages, incense, cigar cases, for example, the aluminum ones that you like see in the films, and cigarette cases. They're typically aluminum, plastic, things of that nature. Those are typically our products, more or less.
Do you focus on one over the other, like a primary product?
Well, as a high-end tobacco and non-tobacco product store, there's not really one product that will, I wish there was, but there isn't one that really keeps us sustaining for a lifelong business.
Commissioners, other questions? All right, we're going to have staff come up and do their presentation, and sit tight. We'll be calling you back up.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, this is yours.
Good evening, Chair DiDomenico, members of the Commission. My name is Lee Jimenez. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department. Tonight's request by Stogies, I'm just going to go over some facts of the case, pertaining to the site and the zoning and our special use standards for tobacco retailers. So just for the record, Stogies is a proposed tobacco retailer proposed on the southwest corner of Baseline and Hardy Drive in the CSS Commercial Shopping and Services District. They plan on, as we've heard in the presentation by the applicant, they plan on selling tobacco, cigars, and tobacco and cigar accessories. The proposed location is in conformance with the City of Tempe's Development Code Section 3-423, which prohibits tobacco retailers from being located on a lot within 1,320 feet from the lot line of a charter, private, or public school which provides elementary or secondary education. And the nearest school from this site is Getz School, which is located at 625 West Cornell Drive, and that is approximately 1,835 feet from the property line of the proposed sites. So tonight's request is a request for a use permit to allow a tobacco retailer in the CSS zoning. Here is a layout of the site. North is up on the screen, east is to your right-hand side. I used to live in this area, and I recall this being an old Blockbuster, so I used to frequent this suite. Here is just the floor plan of the site. It's around 3,200 square feet. And then we have some site context photos. And then regarding the public notification process, so there's no neighborhood meeting required for a use permit request as such. Staff has received a total of 14 public comments that are in support and then 22 in opposition. Those who those who are opposed believe that there's too many smoke shops in the vicinity. They also believe that the use will contribute to the deterioration of the neighborhood, the downgrading of property values. They also consider the use a bad influence on the youth, and they're concerned that it attracts bad individuals. So those were kind of like the primary talking points with the comments that we received in opposition. And for those in support, they're looking for other options to consider in the area, and they believe it'll create competition, expand selections, and potentially lower prices for patrons and businesses. And then, so regarding the approval criteria for the use permit request, I just want to go over the 5 criteria for use permit approval. And the first of which is any significant increase in traffic, or the proposed use will not cause any significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. The proposed use is a retail use, which is retail has same parking standard requirements or ratio requirements as other retail uses such as tobacco retailers. So it's retail for retail, so there's no anticipation of increased traffic. The nuisance, another is that the proposed use will not create a nuisance arising from the emission of odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration, smoke, heat, or glare at a level exceeding that of ambient conditions. The proposed use is not expected to cause any of these nuisances because the nature of the business is within a building, and there's no emissions that will be emitted from the exterior of the building. It's a standard retail use. The third criterion is the proposed use shall not cause or the contribution of the deterioration of the neighborhood or the downgrading of property values, which is in conflict with the goals, objectives, or policies for rehabilitation, redevelopment, or conservation set forth in the city's adopted plans or general plan. So the site does conform to the use separation requirements for tobacco retailers. And as far as the contribution to the neighborhood, it's filling in a vacancy. And then as far as the next criterion, we have compatibility with existing surrounding structures and uses. The proposed use is a retail use, which is compatible with similar retail uses in the same center and in the surrounding area. And lastly, the last criterion is adequate control of disruptive behavior both inside and outside the premises, which may create a nuisance to the surrounding area or general public. The business is expected to monitor customers, and as they noted in their presentation, they'll be basically checking for legal age for sales, and as they noted, their point of sale system doesn't allow for sale of a product without a proper ID. And so with all that said, staff did recommend approval as subject to the conditions. There was a condition that was added on Friday and revised into the report, and staff had discussed this with the applicant, and so they're aware of, and the condition is to return to the commission for a review of compliance with the assigned conditions of approval. And this would be after 6 months of operating. So basically, after 6 months, they would notify staff, and then staff would go ahead and schedule a hearing to hear the compliance review.
And that clock would start running after they officially open the doors?
Yeah, that's correct.
Not after 6 months from today's decision?
6 months after beginning operations.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe that's all I have, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, questions?
And then one last thing, I guess, for the just for the record, or for the there is no separation requirements from tobacco retailer to retailer. Our only separation requirements for tobacco retailer is from schools,
Churches?
just schools.
Just schools. We also were going to read a a list of people who are both in opposition and in support, just so we get names on the record of things that were submitted, but people who did not wish to speak here live tonight.
And Chair, oh, sorry, and Chair Domenico, we also have some presenters as well.
Yes.
Or speakers as well.
Chairman, I was going to ask you how you wanted to handle it, if you wanted the speakers to speak first, because we do have several online, and we have some in the general public right now too. And then I can go and put the names of the,
As long as you promise not to let me forget to get back to the list.
yes, no, I
Okay.
will not let you.
'Cause I will,
forget. Yes.
if you're not there
I
for
will
me.
follow up with
Okay.
you if you wanted to do that.
Thank you.
We can either start with the people in the audience right now or with the online, either way.
Let's,
It's-
I have one card here in public, but let's go with,
Just one of questions for staff from us.
I did. Yeah,
Oh, you did that, okay.
yeah, did you?
No,
You
I
have
didn't- I
one?
didn't, I thought I.
Oh, okay.
I had a question for Lee. We have a number of tobacco retail stores in Tempe already, not too many. I don't have an opinion on that. It seems to me the only issue at hand at all is how much credence we give to the deterioration of the neighborhood argument. Has the city done any studies about this? So there's no empirical fact, just impression.
Chairman and Commissioner Redmond, yes, that is correct. There is no actual analysis of real estate per se by, and it's not required even for the purposes of the use permit criteria, so it's more of a subjective in by nature.
Thank you. I would prefer to go online first, just in case we run into technical difficulties, and then we'll go to in-person.
Certainly, Chairman. We have Alex Wren. Alex, are you ready to speak? Yeah, auto register. This is him. Oh, right there. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello? Can you guys hear me?
yes, we can. Thank you.
Sorry, okay. So, my name is not Alex Wren. My dad's Alex Wren. But my name is Jonathan Wren, and I live very close to the soon to open Stucci's. And I'm underage. I'm 16. And, as a 16-year-old, started smoking, found vapes, continued on that path, and my parents found out, and I couldn't stop. And I couldn't stop for a couple of years, actually. And now I'm 18. And I finally got rehab and help, and I started working with that. And I've gotten cravings from around the neighborhood, seeing it and feeling the need for nicotine. So this is a part of my statement to I try to push for zero smoke shops entering our area, because I know, and I've met other people that fell down the same path in rehab, where we've had a collective group talk about this, and it hurts. It's hard to quit. So seeing more of this, it's like a candy shop for these people, maybe for the right areas, but just not near the neighborhoods, maybe in a different plaza. But this is just my my way of saying that this hurts other communities and other children and other teenagers who sometimes get peer pressured into this, and they can't stop. And the more advertisement of this, the more in the area, it just becomes a candy shop to these people. So it's more of for the kids, for the teenagers, for the younger people, to help protect them and their health, because as statistics say, smoking is bad. And this is just my thing of proving my case. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you very much.
Chairman, next is Leah McKiernan.
Yes, hi, thank you. Chairman DiDomenico, commissioners, as a member of the Pepperwood neighborhood and as a high school principal, I urge you not to approve the use permit for Stogies, a tobacco retailer at 925 West Baseline Road on the corner of Baseline and Hardy. Approving the use permit will put our children in schools at risk. The CDC states that tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable disease, disability, and death among adults in the United States. Use of tobacco products in any form is unsafe, and nearly all tobacco use begins during youth and young adulthood. A 2022 study found that 16.5% of high school students and 4.5% of middle school students currently use tobacco products. According to the Arizona Attorney General, there are 153 tobacco retailers in Tempe, and 83 of those, or 54%, have been cited for selling to minors in the past 5 years. The proposed use permit location is within 85 feet of a public bus stop, which is heavily used by high school students to get to and from school, and within 100 feet of a school bus stop for elementary and middle school students. These infractions and the proximity to school-age children's only mode of transportation to school increases the likelihood that children in our neighborhood will become addicted to tobacco and tobacco products. The approval of the use permit also decreases school safety and impacts student success. According to KTR News in 2019, the Tempe Union High School District had nearly 260 instances in which a student was disciplined for vaping in the 2018-2019 school year. These instances can also cause school-wide disruption to learning through fire alarm evacuations and closing of restrooms where students are caught smoking or vaping. Ensuring that our neighborhood has a healthy future is entirely dependent on the health of our children. This use permit will have a detrimental effect on our children and therefore our neighborhood and should not be approved. Thank you.
Questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
Chairman, next is Joseph Yuhas.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Mr. Chairman, I compliment you on your outfit today. I'm glad I'm not on video. My name is Joe Yuhas, and I am here before you I'm a 27-year resident of the Valley, and I'm here on behalf of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and also as guiding the efforts of the Tempe Flavors Coalition. The issue before you tonight isn't simply a matter of a simple use application. This is not only a citywide concern, but frankly, a statewide and national concern. Because at this very moment, across the nation, efforts are underway to address the epidemic of youth e-cigarette and tobacco use. In Tempe in particular, and I think this is very important, the City Council is currently contemplating a number of measures that would address this issue. And in fact, on March 20th, it will conduct one of, I guess, 9 now public meetings to address exactly how this issue can be addressed. Because the fact of the matter is 1 in 6 Arizona high school students use e-cigarettes. Menthol cigarettes are far and away the preferred combustible tobacco product of youth. And as was pointed out by previous testimony, and I think some of this information has been shared with your staff, of the 154 tobacco retailers in Tempe, over half have sold tobacco products to youth at some point in the last 5 years. In fact, 33% of them multiple times, and one of them 14 times. It's awfully hard to be cited for the sale of these products in Arizona with its relatively modest enforcement measures. Now, this is the wrong time for the commission to consider adding a 155th retailer to the city of Tempe. My advice to the commission, and I would request that this application be rejected, allow the council and the city staff to continue its efforts that they've been working on for over a year now to address this epidemic. There's no reason why when there are 154 retailers in Tempe. There's 31, there's 20 Starbucks and 11 McDonald's. That means there's 5 times the number of tobacco retailers than there are Starbucks and McDonald's combined in Tempe, including 4 within close proximity to this application. Now, one final point I'd like to make, Mr. Chairman. The applicant stated that the company is pivoting, and I'll tell you why they're pivoting. Because the entire state of California, by voter mandate, has voted recently to end the sale of flavored tobacco products in California. Of course, they're coming to Tempe. And that is the very reason why the Flavors Coalition exists in Tempe. We want to duplicate the same measure that has been passed by 350 other cities and 5 states and save the next generation of Tempe kids from a lifetime of nicotine addiction. Your approval of this application tonight will not help advance that cause. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, questions? Thank you very much.
Chairman, we did have another speaker, Stacy Webster, but I'm not seeing anyone online. I did want to check if Jen Bose is it. I may be mispronouncing your last name. I'm not sure if you're here to speak or on this agenda item or just a listener. Okay.
No response from
No
Jen.
no response.
Well, keep an eye online to see if anyone pops up, and we will bring in, I have one card. Brendan McKiernan, if you're also here to speak and your name's not Brendan, fill out one of these cards and get it to us quickly. Otherwise, Brendan, come on up and the podium is yours.
Thank you, guys. My name is Brendan McKiernan. Thanks for letting me speak. I live a few blocks from the proposed smoke shop, and I am asking you to oppose this. For the record, nobody from their business or any other business asked residents of the neighborhood like what we wanted, what would be good. The thing I want people to remember is that when you sell a product that kills people in the neighborhood, how can you say it doesn't degrade the neighborhood? How does that not deteriorate the neighborhood when you're selling stuff that kills my kids? Remember that, okay? If you're selling my kids and people around my kids things that are killing them, how can you tell me that it's not deteriorating my neighborhood, right? You know, there are a lot of tobacco shops in that area, as a lot of people have said. And adding one more, just because there's a bunch of other ones, it doesn't mean that one more isn't going to make that much more of an impact on my neighborhood, on my kids. So I just want you guys to remember that. Thanks.
Questions, commissioners? Thank you.
Chairman, we do not have any more speakers, so, oh, we do?
We've
Oh,
got
sorry.
one. Okay. Name and city of residence, please.
Lucy Logan, Tempe, Arizona.
Wonderful.
What?
Very good.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
I moved to Tempe in 1948. And during that time and during the 50s, I went to work and smelled other people smoke all the time. I have a lot of compassion for those people who are addicted to smoking, and I really care about that. Now my condominium is considering whether to, if it's even legal, to ban smoking in the patios because the smoke carries to the neighbor patios. They really want to ban smoking anywhere in the common area. This is a debate that we're going through now. And somebody has to have compassion for those who are addicted to smoking. However, now is a time to put a stop to this, because not only is smoking something that's an issue right now, but there are many more options for smoking than there used to be in the 50s. There's a flavored tobacco and all kinds of other smoking options, and cigars, which are absolutely abhorrent. And I don't know whether there is a conscientious way to eliminate tobacco, but it's certainly a bad product. And certainly, I would prefer a society that has no smoke anywhere, but I also have to respect those who are addicted. I just ask you to consider both sides of the issue, and I certainly, if it was my preference, I would say no.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Nothing else online? Joanna, no other cards? Nothing? All right, we're going to close the public comment.
Chairman, let me read the list.
Oh, well, we're going to close the public comment portion of the meeting, and staff is going to read us the list of people who've submitted an opinion one way or the other.
Annalie Flores in support. Ashley, no last name given to us, is in support. Kathleen Conway, oppose. Emilio Lopez, support. Kyle Mounts, oppose. Melissa Moore, oppose. Shruti Shamani, oppose. Teresa Ross, support. I'm going to probably butcher this name. Ariadne Katsos Puente, oppose. Amy Wood, support. Balin Giants, support. Carrie Grease, oppose. Christopher Potash, oppose. Grace Doyle, oppose. Hannah Cisneros, oppose. Sierra Gilmore, support. Santana Vialon, support. Taylor Pouncey, oppose. Zachary Tedhams, oppose. Alex Wren, oppose. Brian Perkins, oppose. These are the comments. These are the people who provided comments but did not want their comments to be read on the record, but did provide their opinion. Russell Moore, oppose. Claire Doyle, oppose. Norman, no last name given, support. Rebecca Reza, oppose. Sheila Newton, oppose. M. Prunty, support. Wilma Woodward, oppose. Carrie Hamlet, support. Abe Grant, oppose. Isaac Rosalie, oppose. Cameron Garbrick, support. Those are the lists, Chairman. And Ms. Stacy Webster, who wanted to speak, is in opposed but not online.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask the applicant to come back up, give you a chance to respond to any of the questions or concerns that have been brought up.
Yes, thank you, Commission. I've heard a lot of the guests here describe their concerns, and I just want to make it clear. It seemed as though they think we are a business that sells to minors and kids, but we're just not that. We're not that. We don't sell to minors. Full stop, period. People who are of legal age, who have the legal right to buy a cigar, buy cigarettes, these are the individuals that we sell to, adults who made a conscientious decision, who are desiring a product. Underage sales should not be tolerated. And again, I think their opposition is more so a support for Stogies than it is an opposition, because we're everything that they've actually dreamed of for tobacco, one that preserves and respects the community at large. I understand their concerns, but please, Commission, understand. Their opposition is pretty much a support for what Stogies stands here today and has revealed itself to be. Please remember, out of the 100 so shops that have been opened, the gentleman mentioned that half were cited. Those retail shops need to be addressed and shut down. Stogies has never in its entire history, despite anyone doing whatever they are, we do not sell to underage. We have never sold to underage. We have never been cited. We have never been given a judgment. We've never been given any kind of restrictive measure as a result of selling to minors. We do not sell to minors, not close, not a whiff of it. Furthermore, I felt as though I was treated as a foreigner in his comment. He made it seem as though Californians aren't welcome to move to Arizona, despite me leasing a place to live in, close to work, so that I can go work, make a living, an honest living. It seemed as though a lot of these concerns were, and they're right, they're genuine concerns, but they're for the smoke shops that have been opened already in the city of Tempe. Give a chance for the better to exceed. Give a chance for the better to be present. We do not sell to underage. That concern should dissipate from your minds. It hasn't happened, and it will not happen. Furthermore, we have gone forward and educated individuals, business owners, how to prevent. We've shown our POS system, and we've shown you today what it looks like. All of the concerns seem to circumvent around that particular notion that underage kids, teens, might be privy to such products. Absolutely, unequivocally, not at Stogies. You will not find, and you will not see us here again as under the pretense that we violated any city law or ordinances. We are a law-abiding business. We are a law-abiding, proud Americans, and we are here to humbly request your approval. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the concerns of the community.
One sec. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Casano?
Yeah, just a question to address something that was
Yes.
stated by one of the opposition individuals here tonight. California law is going to ban certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Is that some of your reason for coming this way?
No, sir. No, sir. We are being crippled by taxes in California. A lot of our amendment rights seem to be trampled upon. Arizona has always been a great state filled with the opportunities of the American dream. And quite frankly, sir, California just isn't what it used to be. It's not a place where freedom reigns supreme. There's restrictive laws that punish law-abiding citizens, but allow other individuals to. How is it that marijuana is legal and is rampant, but in California, but by the same logic, what kind of law? But flavored tobacco, flavored vapes is a no-no. That's the state that we're trying to run away from. We're coming here as refugees.
Well, and the other side of it is Tempe is considering changes to the
Absolutely, and
regarding-
we'll still be here, Commissioner, because we're not an exclusively, as the other commissioner had mentioned, we're not exclusively a one-product business. That's no fear to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I appreciate all of your time.
How
Thank
long
you.
have you been in business in California?
4 years.
Approximately 4 years. And no citations?
Zero, Commissioner.
For
Chairman.
underage?
Zero. Proudly, zero. And that's because we follow the law to a T.
Other questions, Commission? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Staff, Lee, anything else?
I have nothing else to add other than the number of tobacco retailers. I just want to make emphasis that a tobacco retailer is a business that sells primarily tobacco products. So I don't know if the total survey of the total number of retailers is accurate or not. I can't confirm that, but I just want to make a note of it that a tobacco retailer, according to our zoning code, is a business that sells primarily tobacco products. And so a convenience store or grocery store may not be considered a tobacco retailer because that's not their primary sales item.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I'm guessing that it includes any retailer in Tempe that has tobacco products on premises. That's going to include everything from bowling alleys to bars to almost every grocery store, almost all gas stations, mini markets, bodegas. So, Commissioner Spears.
I'm assuming the Walgreens in the center currently is selling tobacco products, as do most Walgreens.
I'm not sure if that location does, but they
it's
would
not
not
something
be
that would
a
even
tobacco
become-
Although
so-
they do sell tobacco products, their primary sell item is
Right,
convenience
exactly.
items,
So it's
grocery
not
items,
something we would even hear,
pharmaceutical.
so
Yeah.
there's-
No, we wouldn't.
So
That Walgreens does.
I just wanted
sell
to make
tobacco.
that clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee. All right. With that, we'll close the open portion of the meeting, and I will encourage commission discussion, motions. Commissioner Spears.
I just want to comment that I appreciate the concerns. However, smoking, selling tobacco is legal, as is selling other products that we may or may not personally support. There is another tobacco seller in there, and so in terms of concerns about the product being available in the neighborhoods, don't seem to meet the criteria about deterioration. And it would seem like the likelihood of underage sales in those locations would probably be higher than it would at a place. It is called Stogies, which would indicate their primary business is cigars rather than something else. I don't see any way that what they're trying to do violates any of the 4 requirements for use permits.
Other comments? Commissioner Lloyd.
If it's not too late for a question, but based upon what Commissioner Spears said, you are submitting under Stogies. Do you operate under Stogies in California, and is that going to be your name of business?
Our name of is, yes, indeed.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Sorry, was I allowed to come up here?
Yep. Thank you. What's the judge say? The jury disregard everything you've just heard, Well, I'll throw out a comment. So I've been on the commission for a long time, since 2001-ish. And we've heard a lot over the years, and most of them, many of them before the days where marijuana was legal, before medicinal marijuana or recreational marijuana was legal. Oftentimes, the smoke shops that we considered were head shops. They were what we all remember from years ago, where lots of shelves with glass, products, things that you had to hide from mom and dad, if you took them home. Now, I see smoke shops that are primarily vape shops. I work in commercial real estate, and for a while that was all the trend, is these stores that just came in and that's what they sold was vaping products. And the demographic was a very, high teens, early 20s kind of a group. I've got family members that smoked when they were underage. Some of them have quit. Some of them, go back and forth. I have a son who vapes, and that's the way that he's quit cigarette smoking. I'm sensitive to it. I'd love to be able to say that the only places that are open until it's not legal anymore are places that have good, strong controls over underage smoking or sales. This is the first time we've had somebody who came in and pitched the notion of ID checks for everyone. If I'm, a 50-year-old and I go in there, the register is not going to work unless I put my ID in front. So I like that. Maybe it'll, rising tide will lift the other 150-some boats in our market. I'm also very aware that, I've followed the discussion around the flavored tobacco ban here in our city. And people have told me it's not going to work if just Tempe and our little 40, square mile landlocked town passes this ban. We're surrounded by cities on every side of us who you can still buy it from. Almost every one of our kids can travel 2 to 3 miles, cross a border and go to Mesa, Chandler, Scottsdale, wherever, Phoenix, and buy the products that the city of Tempe is talking about banning. Not only that, you can buy them mail order. This is not a product that you can't just order online. Now, you can't get it from Amazon, but most people who buy vape products, that's their chosen, I shouldn't say most, many. That's how they do it, and there's no ID check. So, do I want to see a proliferation of this? No more than I want to see, another dozen gun shops come in and pull use permits. But as long as those uses are legal and the operators are good operators who try and do things the right way, I'm hard pressed to find a way to make up something to deny an application that will just get overturned on appeal. And that's exactly what will happen as long as it's a legal product. So I will be in support of this. I will probably not be a customer, but I will probably be in support of this case. Anybody have a comment or want to put a motion on the table?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment following along your lines. I go back in history. I was on the city council at the time. We made the determination to do smoke-free ordinance in Tempe in certain locations. And yes, we were kind of an island. But now if you look around, things have changed, and I think society is changing. Until laws are changed that say you can't do this, you can't sell this, I don't see any way around us not approving it for the request before for use permit. But maybe society will change. It has certainly changed with the no smoking ordinances and where you can smoke and where you can't. And I think that's a good sign. I would not have voted in favor of legalizing marijuana, but it's out there now. I don't smoke it. I never have smoked it. I'm an asthmatic, so it would not do me much good. And but people do, and they swear by it. And so, but it is legal. And so we can't control it from that standpoint. But based on the fact that there will be a 6-month review, that's a new one on those others we've approved. We haven't added that requirement. And it will be good to see how this operation actually is able to attract customers that they say they would prefer to have, with a requirement of an ID every time you come in the door. So with that, I would be supporting this use permit.
Vice Chair.
These cases that come to us that have very emotional arguments on both sides are always difficult, but something that Commissioner Casano mentioned that always helps bring votes around for approval is adding a condition of approval, which brings the applicant back after a period of time for review. This specific, the language of this specific condition is a review of the compliance with the conditions of approval, which is fine, but I don't know if that gets to the concerns of the neighborhood and things of that nature. I'm wondering if we may be able to modify the language to some extent to have include any violations that they may be, any citations or other violations that may have accumulated in that 6-month period.
Chairman, and Vice Chair, we can definitely clarify, but the intent behind it is that before we bring that back to the commission in a 6-month review period, that's exactly what staff will do. Staff will look for any kind of violation, whether it's code-related, police-related, or any other, and then bring that back to the commission with the research done. So that's generally how the commission, or if it's an administrative review, that's how staff reviews those.
So that's how you will do it under this existing language that we've got for this
That is
condition?
correct. That's the way we would verify that they are in compliance, that there haven't been any complaints filed with the city in any form.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Redden.
Commissioner Domenico and other commissioners, I am not questioning the fitting within the law situation that we're facing, and it's okay with me if the board approves it under those expectations. At the same time, I'd like to believe that any of the commissions that are appointed or created within our city do so with the intent of them exerting some judgment in what they do and expressing their viewpoints, and that the word review implies that to me. And so recognizing that it fits within the letter of the law is okay, but I myself going to vote against this, just as a statement that I hope leads other people to just think about it more deeply.
Understood. Anyone want to put a motion on the floor?
Chairman,
Commissioner Spears.
I move for the approval of PL 220327.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Spears and a second by Vice Chair Johnson. My assumption, just for clarification, Commissioner Spears, is that your motion is with the conditions of approval as drafted with no changes?
Correct.
All right. So that's clarified. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion carries with Commissioners Lloyd and Redmond in opposition. Thank you all, members of the public. Again, this was a final decision by the commission. If you are in disagreement and wish to file an appeal for this decision that the commission has just made, you have 14 calendar days from today's date. And I would suggest, just to make sure that you understand what the date limitation is for any appeals, that you contact staff tomorrow during normal business hours, and they'll walk you through the process. Thank you very much. Thank you to the applicant for a good presentation. That brings us to our final item on the agenda, our final case. This is item number 5. And item number 5 is La Victoria Commons. At this point, I'd ask the applicant to come up and make a presentation to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, Darren Sender, Sender Associates, 464 South Farmer Avenue in Tempe. I have here with me tonight Bill McAllister with COPA Health. I'll have Bill explain a little bit more about the project, the intent, kind of what COPA Health's scope is, amazing group, and then I'll go through kind of the more specifics of the actual entitlement case. So, Bill, why don't you go ahead and...
Sure, let me kick it off. Hi, so as Darren said, I'm Bill McAllister, and I am with COPA Health, and I'm the Director of Strategic Grant Initiatives with COPA. And I thought I'd just start a little bit by thanking you for giving us the opportunity to kind of talk about our project, because it's very near and dear to our hearts, and we're very excited about it and looking forward to making this thing, making this project work. So we are, COPA Health is a 501c3 organization. We started in 1957. We help and support people with disabilities. That means people that have intellectual and developmental disabilities. That could be also autistic, somebody on the autistic spectrum. And we also help people with mental health disabilities as well and conditions. So we serve about 14,000 people today throughout Arizona, predominantly in Maricopa County. And we are, for the most part, headquartered in Mesa. However, we have facilities throughout predominantly Maricopa County, but we just opened up a clinic, for example, in Lakeside, Show Low area. So we're really kind of expanding not only inside Arizona, but we're also looking and going to open up a youth transitional center and a clinic in Utah as well. So we're definitely expanding our footprint as we look at what we can do for the community, and we consider ourselves a good community partner as well. So let me go through. Sorry, let me go through this. So that's a little bit about who we are. We definitely believe from we want to inspire health and hope and happiness, and we really want to help and provide that support for the people that we do serve, to give them opportunities that hopefully they don't have today, and we want them to be as successful as they possibly can be, with our assistance. And again, we take that very seriously, and it's really kind of part of our DNA. So let me talk a little bit about the services and how we do that. For the most part, we have three primary pillars of service, including the employment-related services. So what that means is, if we have folks that we're serving that just have decided that, hey, I want to go look for a job, it's employment-related services task to help them do that. That could be anything. That could be helping writing resumes, job coaching, employment specialists, really kind of helping prepare that person to get them ready for the job market. That could also include what we call enclaves, and that's groups of people going out working, for example, at Boeing. We have a team of people that do wire harnessing at Boeing. We run a restaurant in Mesa in Leisure World. The project we're talking about here, we're going to have what we call a Copa Cafe that's going to hire, or actually we're not hire necessarily, train and work and help people that we serve to work in a restaurant type of environment that'll serve the community there at La Victoria. So that's just a couple of examples of what we do on the employment-related services side. We also run what they call community day programs, and community day programs are just for people that are either, like in the mental health side, just trying to get back on their feet. And it just gives them an opportunity to do that in a safe and kind of neutral environment so they feel comfortable doing it. Likewise, for the folks at developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities, the community day programs give them an opportunity to kind of come together, whether it's socialized network, but it also gives their parents and guardians an opportunity to go to work or do whatever they have to do, because typically a day program will run from 9 to, let's say, 4 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. So it just gives that guardian and parent an opportunity to do what they need to do. The next one is residential services there, and this is really where the housing project we're talking about here fits into. COPA runs approximately 37 group homes today, again, predominantly in Maricopa County. We have 3 or 4 here in Tempe. And in addition to those group homes, we have a variety of apartment complexes as well that we provide for our members, and maybe even for some of our employees. And we also have in East Mesa a place called the Village at Oasis, which is actually a HUD 811 project that was built in, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but it was built in 2013 and really then provides housing for our folks in the developmental disability arena, but also then has a community center out there as well. So from a housing perspective, we just kind of look at, and we're appreciating the opportunity to kind of expand that footprint. And about 4 years ago, we have a new CEO, Dr. Shar Najafi Piper, who has really kind of expanded that vision from a housing standpoint, thus this kind of entry into a low-income housing tax credit program like we're talking about tonight. The other big piece of what we do as well is the integrated health clinics, and those are medical and mental health clinics that we run. They're funded through Medicaid, through Access, the Regional Behavioral Health Authority, and that's where we provide both medical services and mental health services. And as we'll talk a little bit later on, and you'll see, we're going to have a smaller integrated clinic within our complex here as well. And we're really kind of planning and hoping to not only serve the members inside this, this facility, but we'll expand those services or those capabilities to the community in the neighborhood, La Victoria neighborhood as well. And that might come in, levels of maybe, examinations or physical exams or vaccinations or those kinds of things for the neighborhood. And we want to make sure that this is a very open and caring kind of a facility to the neighborhood, and we want to accommodate as much as we can the needs that they have as well. So the component of La Victoria Commons, and we're calling it La Victoria Commons to really, again, complement the neighborhood that's there now. And we want to expand that, and to ensure they feel like they're part of it. So the Copa Health side is going to be a 5-story complex. It's going to be 104 1, 2, and 3 bedroom rental units. About 30% of those are going to be set aside and designated for the Copa members, as I just described. Their area medium income is about 30% or below. So they definitely meet a threshold of low income. Likewise, the remaining 70% will be affordable as well. And we're targeting that'll be about 60% area medium income as well, but that'll be more available to the general population to be a tenant as part of that as well. So as I mentioned before, we're going to have a Copa Health clinic, and we'll serve members, our Copa members, La Victoria Common residents, and also the neighborhood, as I said. I mentioned Copa Cafe. And that's like I said as well, that's an important aspect for us because that gives us an opportunity to further train and get some of our members who are interested in getting in that kind of experience or job experience, so they can get trained and hopefully move on to other kinds of things that they'd like to get into. We're also going to provide a community space that's going to be available to both the residents and the neighborhood, and we'll figure out how to make that work. And I say that only because, for example, if the neighborhood wants to do some kind of a celebration of some kind, we'll figure out how to manage that with them, and that's very important us to do that. We're also, a key part of what we're going to do, we firmly believe that, healthcare is housing, health is housing, and we want to make sure that we have the appropriate support services that are going to be available, not only property management, but also support services that are there for the folks that might need that, and we just make sure we have those kinds of services available to them. Very, very similar to what we do today in our group homes and other areas, but we want to extend that into this facility as well. So I did mention, and a key part of this project, and sometime back when we first started talking about this, Newtown. Newtown is a community development corporation. They've done projects here in Tempe before, micro estates, for example, we just decided, and we both kind of came together and just decided that we needed to do that from a partnership standpoint, and both and Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, from a zoning perspective, because you'll see later on, we want the neighborhood to kind of blend nicely into what we're going to provide as well. So on the north side of the property will be the Newtown 19 condominiums that'll be affordable and for sale, and Newtown will manage that and develop that and build that in partnership with us on the same property, and that's very, very important. And then likewise on the south end of the property will be more of more condensed type of housing where we're talking about the 104 units as well. And the ownership will be through Newtown from a community development corporation standpoint. And they will have, 1- and 2-story townhomes, 1- and 2- 3-bedroom buildings as well. So I'll go through the timeline very quickly. We Copa Health, we're really kind of starting to think back in 2014, something around low-income housing tax credit. And in all candor, we are new in that arena. So we've brought on actually some pretty significant experts in Dominion, and also a gentleman by the name of Joe Keeper, who's very, very experienced in Native American connections. And they're really kind of helping us drive this application, which can be complex. Just to kind of go down through again, Copa Health Village at Oasis, I mentioned that before. That's a HUD 811 complex, and we designed, developed, and built that, and it's really been up and running since 2014. In 2021, We had the opportunity to, actually, we met with Mayor Woods, and I mentioned our CEO, Dr. Shar. They got together, and there just seemed to be kind of a common interest in maybe having COPA provide more services inside Tempe, and which we're happy to do. So we started working towards, and the city was going to release, and did release, the RFQ 22090, which basically gave a land lease opportunity for those addresses there, 2320 and 2314 on Apache Boulevard. So again, COPA, Newtown, we got together and submitted an RFQ back in March of last year. And thankfully, we were awarded. We were awarded that RFQ, and thus, now the efforts to design the zoning and really kind of put this whole thing together. The entitlements we'll submit in October 3rd, and I'll let Darren kind of work that a little bit more. We are totally focused on the LIHTC application right now. That's due April 1st, and we're putting all our efforts to make sure we get that done. And by the way, we're looking for a 9% award under LIHTC, at least initially. Again, that's a competitive thing, so we'll do our very best to win that. Assuming we win it, we'll look at a June timeframe of this year. Groundbreaking. By the way, these are all estimates, so please don't, lock us down on this. This is estimates only, and we probably should have put that in flashing letters there. But anyway, estimate only. But right now, we really are looking towards a groundbreaking in January 2024, and then hopefully, we're open for business in 2025.
Before you move off, real quickly, with the low income housing tax credit, very competitive process. Very few projects get awarded. Do you have a plan B if you don't get the tax credits?
Yeah, we'll probably look at 4%. There's a 4% option as well, and we haven't made that decision yet. And we'll let this kind of happen. Either 4% or we'll come back. And as we're putting together our terms and everything through with the city, we'll look towards next year and apply. And then after that, if we don't get it, then that's then we'll look at other financing potentially. But yeah, we have some decision points to get to before we get there. But yes, we're making plan B, C, and D. Hey.
Go ahead.
Can you just talk a little bit more? You mentioned kind of your operations management and property management for the COPA component of the development. Will there be staff on site 24/7, or how will the operations actually?
The property management?
Yeah, for operations management.
Yeah, our intention from a property management standpoint, probably look to a third party to take that over to work that. We have a fairly comprehensive property management capability today because of all the properties we manage. But when you get to a 5-story, we're not typically a LIHTC application, 5-story application, so we're probably going to look to a third party to be the property manager and actually managing that for us. Whether or not that'll be forever or just a temporary period of time and kind of get us up to speed, COPA Health up to speed from a property management standpoint, but we'll look to a third party to kind of get that going. Does that answer your question?
Will the operations be manned 24/7? Will there always?
Yeah.
Yes.
The support services will likely, the property management side will be managed 24/7, but from a support services standpoint, I would say it'll probably be more typical Monday through Friday, maybe some Saturday, Sunday kinds of activity, just quite honestly, depending on the individuals that are there and whether or not they need help or not. Plus the clinic is there. So we want to be sure, and the clinic will have, like a psychiatrist and a counselor and a case manager and behavioral health technicians working in that facility. Likewise, an MD, medical doctor as well. And then they'll be part of that whole process too from a support services standpoint, because we think that's very important.
Vice Chair.
In your presentation, you mentioned that I think 30% of the units would be available for COPA members.
Yes.
Does that mean those are more like accessible style units?
Yes, they will. There'll be some accessible style units as well. I would say the bulk of the folks, the COPA members, will be from a mental health standpoint that are ready to go into a more independent lifestyle. And if just for an example, we have 2 homes here in Tempe, group homes. We call them the Lighthouse, and they're significant because these are folks that have fairly significant psychiatric issues, and over time, they'll do something and forced out of whatever support group that they had available. And about 8 or 9 years ago now, the parents came to us, and also so did the REBA, and came and said, we need to do something different. So our senior leadership at COPA worked with REBA, worked with the parents, and came up with this lighthouse concept to where, quite honestly, the folks can't get kicked out. I mean, barring some really horrible crime, but that's never happened and never been an issue. But they can't get kicked out. If they have a psychiatric issue, they're not going to get removed. And now, significantly, fast forward 8, 9 years later, a lot of the members we're talking about will be eligible for this independent care because they've just prospered so much under that particular environment, and they feel safe, secure, and the difference is significant. I mean, and it's proven, evidence-based, and we're clearly seeing some very positive things as a result.
So fewer of your members are more physically.
Yes. Yeah. It's we started that way. So our whole business started 1957. Families getting together with developmental disadvantaged, disabled children, right? And that just started we started as a school, for children with disabilities. And then that evolved, and once the laws changed, then public schools took more of that responsibility over. Then we moved more into the adult side, and as a result, we did that for a number of years. And right around the mid '80s, we started moving more and more into the behavioral health side. And quite honestly, that's just grown to be a more significant part of what we do every day. And that got escalated because about 5 or 6 years ago, there was an organization. We were originally called Mark Center, and then we went Mark Community Resources. And then we had a partner in Partners in Recovery. And Partners in Recovery is really the SMI, seriously mentally ill clinics. Well, we came together and kind of came under one roof. And that's why we have a new CEO as well. And thus the name COPA Health, because it just seemed to make sense to kind of change it and rebrand it. So the mental health side of the business and the behavioral health side of the business just grew significantly. And that is a big part of what we do today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Darren, other things to add?
I don't know how to follow that. It was a pretty amazing presentation. They do incredible work. And speaking of that, I kind of forgot to go back here, but it's a real collaboration, like he said, with Joe and with Dominium. We've got some great advice from LISC. Rail CDC, which I'll mention in a moment, and you all know Newtown. Stephanie apologizes she can't be here. She has a prior engagement with her family this evening. So, but I mean, just an amazing group of people giving advice and help on this project. So I'll get into the boring stuff. So really what it is as an overview, La Victoria Commons is an affordable housing project that combines the expertise of Newtown CDC providing for-sale homes and COPA Health providing integrated health care and housing to be developed pursuant to the RFQ on city-owned land directly adjacent to the McClintock Apache Light Rail Station. You couldn't get a better location for this, right on light rail. The developers of this one-of-a-kind project spent nearly a year conducting neighborhood outreach with the Rail CDC within the La Victoria Victory Acres neighborhoods, resulting in the project name La Victoria Commons, and many project-specific designs and additions, such as a pedestrian pathway through the project to the light rail station and the graduated intensity and height from MacArthur Drive to Apache that you'll see. That outreach continues to this day. So the site location, again, city-owned property just north of Apache, east of the 101 freeway, just directly adjacent to the rail station. You'll see the corner of our property is actually where the crosswalk is on Apache there. So we're like right on that crosswalk. And again, adjacent to the park and ride as well, just to the south. So the project requests a couple different things here to really make this happen. Now you can see on the map on the left is existing conditions, where the gray is general plan land use map, which shows a future for a mixed use type of project. The north side is residential. Our first request is just to change a tiny swath in the middle from the residential to commercial for the Copa Health portion. Similarly, the GP for the southern part of the project from the medium density to the higher density for the Copa Health project. And then on the northern portion of the Newtown side of the property, from cultural resource area to medium to high density. And I just have to commend staff. We've worked extremely intensely on making this project happen, making it work, and they have helped so much. So Lee and Ryan and Suparna, just very, very helpful. So making sure everything fits in, making sure the densities are as low as possible, they helped us quite a bit. And then the zoning map amendment, the MU following the general plan's mixed use, projected use. And we wanted to keep the northern portion as low as we could as it addresses the neighborhood. So I think we did backflips trying to make sure that the density and zoning on this northern portion of it was down to R1 PAD. So pretty much the lowest we could do to still make a project happen. Neighborhood outreach, again, was fairly extensive. Input gathered from these meetings by Rail, CDC, and Copa Newtown identified a lot of the key holders, a lot of the issues, stakeholders, a lot of the issues, and things that are happening in La Victoria, which go far beyond this project. Things that we're talking about are hosting, potentially hosting soccer games for the community, something that hasn't happened in years. Having that community room in the project, just having that outreach. The project named La Victoria Commons was something that one of our team members was very strong about. He wanted to make sure that that name followed through. It represents the neighborhood. And at the neighborhood meeting, we had some community members say that they were really excited that they were heard and seen as a community, because the history of this location, them being chopped off from the Tempe really with the freeway and some other things that had happened in the past, it made them feel whole again. It made them feel part of the community. So we had our formal neighborhood meeting on January 11th at Apache ASL Trails down the street. We wanted to make sure people could walk to the neighborhood meeting. And honestly, we didn't have a lot of attendance. The outreach that was so extensive, people knew about it, they knew it was happening, and we're quite comfortable with it. So we had 6 neighbors attend. That included residents, neighboring property owners, and CVAC members, including Phil, MROC. 7 development team members were available. We wanted to make sure we could touch base on everything from architecture to design to Copa Health and Newtown. So a result of that was a letter of support from Phil as co-chair of CVAC, where he presented the project to the CVAC, and the letter was signed off by Hudson Manor, University Heights, Borden Homes, Alegre, Escalante, the Escalante neighborhood, and Kyle Deli from Hudson Eatery. Pretty much the major stakeholders in that area. And although it's not required, we are going to be submitting a DPR at a later date, and we will be hosting another neighborhood meeting for anyone who wants to see the design portion of the project at that time. And then here's the letter. It was in your staff report. So the site design was really driven by its location and the adjacencies. Obviously, on the south side, we have Apache Boulevard, which is light rail station right on the corner, right there next door, where the general plan and most land use policies say build higher, more density, get that light rail ridership up. This is where we want to see heightened density, close to the rail station, up on Apache. But we also didn't want to drive that all the way into the neighborhood. We knew that doesn't make sense. We read very, very carefully the Apache Character Area Plan, which literally showed this as an idea. Keep it very, very low towards the neighborhoods and higher towards the Apache light rail station. So that's what we have here. On MacArthur, we've got 4 one-story homes. They're townhomes. This will be the Newtown CDC portion of it. It's called Lot 2. And so the 4 homes face the homes that are across the street. So we have a residential, single-family residential feel towards MacArthur. And then the 2-story townhomes start beyond that. So there's the 3 layers of the 2-story townhomes. And then it rises up towards Apache with the 5-story building itself. The parking garage is on the ground floor of the Copa on Lot 1. And then on the right here, you can see the podium courtyard is a raised up, safe area where people can have their kids running around or family come to visit. all kinds of different shaded areas to play and be outside, but yet be up a little bit and kind of protected from what's happening around it. Also, there is, you can't see it on here, but there is a pathway that was something we heard from the neighborhood. The pathway from MacArthur, from the neighborhood down south to the light rail station. Currently, you cannot get from MacArthur to the light rail station without going all the way around, which is quite far. There are either fences on vacant land, or there are businesses, or there's a park with a fence around it. So that was a big problem for the neighborhood, and having this is open for the neighborhood to walk through and access down right through the light rail, and hopefully grabbing a sandwich or a cookie at Copa Cafe on the way. Very conceptual building design. As I mentioned, well, I didn't really get into it too much, but this project, we're actually only requesting general plan amendments and a rezoning with a PAD. There is no DPR in this project. There's no design yet. That was part of the resolution for the city and part of our request to have the project completed in time for the LIHTC funds. As soon as we have, hopefully, approval by the city council, we're going to turn right around and submit our DPR application. We're working on it right now. But these are the direction Todd & Associates is moving. They are doing amazing things with this building. I think it looks great. So these are some conceptual elevations of the Copa building. And I don't have on here the Newtown buildings, but they follow the same architecture as the microstates. So basically the microstates types of product, two-story. But the one story is a little more homes, two-story product will be the two stories, like microestates. Another rendering showing the southwest corner of the project, and you can kind of see the light rail station there. A couple more renderings just in sight of the site as developed from Todd & Associates here, looking from the northwest towards the southeast. You can kind of see in the middle there is the courtyard. And kind of there, so you can see the step down pretty well here. You can see from MacArthur, the one story, the two story, and then up to the 5-story. And this is a great example that Todd & Associates prepared for us. It really follows the kind of the Apache character area plan. I reversed this image because it shows exactly what the project is. It's a lower intensity to a higher intensity. And speaking of the Apache character area plan, when we were looking at our application narrative, we knew we had to have the project kind of show how we meet these requirements and meet the ideas and concepts for this area, and it met so many. It really did, and I think the group that put that plan together did a great job of really assessing what each neighborhood, individual area wanted to be, and in particular for this area, they wanted to keep that residential feel while still embracing light rail, and still doing some cool things with it, and making it look like part of the community, and that's where the La Victoria comes in as well. I've got some site data here in case you're interested, but generally, that's all I have, if there's any questions.
Commission, questions? Very comprehensive. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sit tight, and we'll, I'm sure, have an opportunity to bring you back. Lee, tell us what we don't know.
It's hard to follow that. My name is Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. I'd like to say the drainage is good, but that's not all it. A funny joke from Parks and Rec, if you've seen the show. So I guess I'll just go over the facts pertaining to the case. So as Darren has mentioned, the site, we're about 350 feet east of the Loop 101 freeway, and just across the street from the Loop 101, Price Road, Apache Light Rail Station. So it's currently zoned CSS along the south, CSS with TOD, and then along the north we have R16 zoning. So the blurb was nice. It's nice and long. There's a lot going on in this request. So we do have a general plan amendment to go from residential to mixed use for a small portion of the project site. And then we also have some amendments for the density to get the appropriate densities as proposed along the north, which is Lot 2, and then Lot 1 for now is the mixed use component. And so the final zone, the final general plan designation for density along the south would be to the high density, which is up to 65 dwelling units per acre. And then on the north end, where we have R1 PAD in the single family units, the density will be limited to I believe, to a medium to high density, which is up to 25 dwelling units per acre. So in order to fit it on the screen, I had to lay out the site plan side to side. So to your left is north and to your right is south. And on the right-hand side, you'll see Lot 1, which is Lot 1 for now. That's the mixed-use component. That's the 5-story building with podium parking. And it'll have a designation of mixed use with TOD and a PAD, excuse me. And then on your left-hand side, Lot 2, which is the R1 PAD, where we'll have the 19 single-family units, the 4 detached along MacArthur, and then the attached units in between, creating that transition from the intenser density along Apache to MacArthur, where we have the single-family development to the north of Victory Acres. And as Darren showed earlier, here's the conceptual rendering or conceptual elevations of the project. And I did have what was proposed so far for the single-family component, the R1 PAD component, which is a lot to the north. The top 2 elevations are the attached townhome units, and then the bottom are the detached units. And here's my illustration of the amendments proposed today, similar to what Darren showed. So we have mixed use on for the additional mixed use added to the southern portion. And then as far as the density is concerned, we're going from cultural resource area to medium density for the R1 PAD to the north. So the neighborhood meeting was held on January 11th. I attended. There is a summary of the meeting in your attachment packet. We did receive that one comment and support from the Citizens for a More Vibrant Apache Corridor. And then this morning I did receive an email from Mr. Hanna, who actually owns the property to the east. And in his comment, he's in support of the project. He's just concerned that the parcel along the north is a little underutilized with 19 units, and his opinion that is, the mixed use part or component he'd be in support if it were to extend all the way to MacArthur. And then another concern of his was there's an existing sewer line easement and sewer line that runs across the mixed use portion. And through site plan review, we've provided feedback that if that easement and line is to be abandoned, that they'll have to relocate it since it does provide service downstream. And as far as our conditions of approval, we have 2 non-standard conditions, the first of which is providing the 2-year deadline for the DPR. And then the last is we'd like to see just the final parking analysis as far as what is proposed for the parking ratios for the development. And I am available to answer any questions that you might have.
Commission, any questions? At this point, there's no intention or no discussion of abandoning that sewer line, though.
Well, if they were to be abandoned, they'd have to relocate it.
Yeah.
So that's been the thought process from our engineering group and through site plan review.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I have 2 requests to be heard. Do we have anyone online? No one online. All right. Keep an eye on that before I close it out. So the 2 names I have, David and Sam. Anybody else who wishes to be heard, fill out one of these cards, get it to us before Dave and Sam are done speaking. David, you want to come on up and start us off?
Hello, Commissioners. My name is David Sokolowski. I live in Tempe. I would really like to see more density at this location. I'll try and explain why. Tempe needs to build nearly 20,000 affordable units, which means Tempe will need to build a minimum of 1,000 affordable units per year. Based on the Apache project and Victoria Commons, Tempe will still need an additional 700 affordable units for 2023. Tempe is building 25, sorry, hold on one second. Tempe is building 25 affordable units per acre on average. Tempe would need at least 800 acres of land, and that's basically impossible in the city of Tempe. I'm disappointed that Tempe is building single-family units in low density on a light rail station. This could be an example why Arizona has introduced SB 1117, which will automatically upzone properties near the light rail in order to meet our city and state affordable housing goals. If you care about preserving neighborhoods, I would recommend that you upzone this property as much as possible. If you care about preserving local control, then I would recommend that you prove to the state of Arizona that we're capable of building 1,000 units per year for 20 years in a row. Start with Victoria Commons and show your support for high-density affordable housing projects. Thank you.
Questions, Commission? Thank you, David. Next, Sam Hanna.
Can I submit this to you? We've already submitted one. I'd like to submit this to you, if that's okay. My name is Sam Hanna. I own the property immediately to the west. The address is 2306 East Apache and 2314 East Apache. I'd like to have staff make a correction, or COPA make a correction. They said 2314 is part of their project. We own 2314, so if they could make that correction, I'd appreciate it. So we are supportive and we welcome the project, number one. So we'd like to see that developed. And so we are in support of it. We have a couple of concerns. Let me just give you a brief background of myself. Back in over 30 years ago, we were the first to directly invest in the Apache corridor at the northeast corner of Dorsey and Apache. That was an old blighted, maybe a beef slaughterhouse or meat packing or whatever. And that's before any development on light rail, before the development of light rail. And so then we also developed an old contaminated gas station at the corner of McClintock and University Drive. That was the considered America's greenest car wash, the only car wash in America that did not use soap. It's a proprietary wash process. And now we have two parcels on MacArthur and Apache, the one just immediately to the west of the COPA development and also at the corner of the canal and MacArthur Drive. It's 1.5 acres there, so we own both. So we have directly investment and have a deep interest in the Apache Boulevard corridor. So we're not just a fly-by-night operation that don't have any interest in the community. We have a deep, direct investment in the community. So we're concerned about the development and how it affects the community and how it specifically impacts our investment immediately to the west. And I was surprised and maybe shocked when I talked to Ryan Levesque, who was just behind me here, and told me that the map that I have distributed to you has been rejected. Some of you were on the same commission hearing back in September the 6th of 2019, where you approved our proposal to change
to upgrade our project, our property up to mixed use and high density, which the commission approved, and later went to, because of the pandemic, it got delayed almost a year. And so on the 15th of October of 2020, City Council approved our proposal, which shows the map. I downloaded off of the minutes of the council. I also got the same map from one of the staff members of community development, Robbie Aaron. He gave me that same map, which you see in front of you there. So we see mixed use as well as high density. And so I was a little bit surprised of why now they're requesting high density and mixed use where that map shows that it's already a high density. So it's pretty much a shock to me. So, and I have no notification whatsoever that this proposal was rejected. I mean, all the minutes I saw on City of Tempe website shows approval. I didn't have any notification otherwise. So complete shock to me. So with that said, again, we are supportive of the project, but we have a couple of concerns. One of them, of course, is the correction on the address. That should be pretty simple. The sewer line, which we are connected to, runs east and west. I think it flows to the west, I believe, and dumps into another northwest oriented sewer line in Price Road. And so we would like to maintain that as active so we can utilize it. And the only way to do that, I believe, is if that sewer easement is abandoned and the physical line is severed, then we need some kind of clean out at the border of our property to continue utilizing it. So I hope, the appropriate civil engineers, whoever are in charge of that, can address that situation. So the other thing is of concern to us is there's been a lot of talk over the years about the city of Tempe requiring more density because there's only 70 square miles in the city, so the only place to go is up. And so the more density is required, more housing is required. And so we were kind of confused as to, the Copa development 5-story, that kind of fits into some of the requirements for the city, but the single family on the north half fronting Apache seems to be a little bit, not fully utilized the way we think it should be. Let me just say that we have a concern, or everybody that I've talked to has a concern about the maintaining the integrity and the character of the single-family homes that's existing on the north half of Apache. And we have a logical transition right-of-way there, which is MacArthur Drive, separating any medium or high density development on the south side of Apache. So you have a logical transitionary boundary there. And so to develop these 19 units, which are 1-story and 2-story, seems to me that you're bringing the problem from the north side of MacArthur to the south side of MacArthur. So now, to satisfy and maintain the character of the north side residential people, you have brought them now to new residents on the south side of MacArthur, if I can explain that right. And you have immediately to the south, you got a 5-story building looking down on the new on the new occupants. So it just doesn't make any sense, you know? Why bring the problem that had a logical transition on the north side, you bring the problem to the south side, and these new residents are looking up 5 stories. It just doesn't make any sense.
Did you bring these concerns up to the developer and staff
I'm
prior to
sorry?
this meeting? Have you brought these concerns up to the developer or staff
Well,
prior to
The only
tonight?
notification I have was the hearing on the 11th of January, which I attended. And when I talked to Jennifer Boblick, representing Sender, Brent Beezer, the architect, Lee Jimenez, which is here, and Norm Duvet, who was the vice president of COPA. I talked to all of them. I presented my concerns. I said, do you want that in writing? They said, no, we hear what you're saying and we will address your concerns. And we will get back to you. And I didn't hear anything in response to that.
Well, we'll ask for their input.
I'm sorry?
Well, we'll bring them back up and ask for some input. But I do know that I saw records of publication and community and neighborhood meetings much prior to today's hearings. And are you saying you never received notification of those prior meetings?
Well, I received notification that there was a hearing at the ASL Trails building on the 11th of January. That's the first time that I've had direct notification in which I attended.
Okay, all right, good. All right, I'm going to ask you to kind of get all of your things out here on the record so that we can get back to the applicant and have them address your concerns.
Okay, now, regarding our property now, can I get a confirmation that this Urban Core Master Plan has been rejected now?
Well, that'll be something we'll ask staff to
So
address,
we're
but that's
back
not something the
we're
commission.
back to R16 designation for our property instead of high density mixed
Yeah,
use?
that's not something we're going to respond to, but we will ask staff to enlighten us.
Any questions for me before I go?
Questions, commissioners? No, thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Do we have anyone else wishing to be heard? Aren't anybody online? All right, I will close the public comment portion of the hearing. I would ask, first of all, staff, can you come back up and address some of the things that were more in your wheelhouse?
Good evening. I believe well, first off, the handouts he handed out, I believe these were associated with the Urban Core Master Plan. And the Urban Core Master Plan, which did include some general plan amendments, was never adopted by City Council. It did not end up getting adopted by City Council. And so that's why these general plan amendments shown on these exhibits were not.
Do you know if it was ever heard by council or did it just die for lack of hearing?
Chairman.
Maybe we'll have Brian
yeah,
Levesque
Brian
come
can
Brian?
elaborate, but
in regards
it
to
was
that.
heard.
That's right.
Members of the commission, yes, the general plan request for the Urban Core Master Plan had multiple hearings with City Council. We had some follow-up requests, and there was a COVID pandemic. A lot of the issues centered around some public comments. I had some concerns about the project plans, the master plan element, the urban core overlay, as well as some of the general plan amendments. Some were suggesting from the public that maybe we should wait to the general plan 2050 process, which we're currently underway with right now. Ultimately, we came to a conclusion that with Upper City Management that we withdrew the application, but we did bring forward on an October 2020 hearing was the industrial hubs, which were general plan amendments of some industrial areas. So that portion of the general plan was approved, but the rest was put on indefinite hiatus until we found an opportunity time to bring it back. So there will be an opportunity to discuss it as part of the general plan 2050 process, which we're underway with this year. And I'll clarify too, it was not to change property zoning like Mr. Hanna's referring to. It's just to change the general plan projected land use if an
Projected
applicant
land
were to propose a zoning change.
Okay. All right. So the most direct answer for Mr. Hanna is that although it was discussed, that there was no approval at a city council level, and the matter right now is something being dealt with on the 2050 plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Staff, the address, I do remember seeing the 2016 address was somewhere. I don't know if that was an official document or where that popped up. I think it was in reference to the original RFP.
It could be, Chair DiDomenico, but as far as the processing address for this project, it is 2320 East Apache, and it is bound by the legal description provided so far. And I don't believe that legal description does encapsulate Mr. Hana's property.
Okay, good. Very good, thank you. Darren, team, is there anything you'd like to address? You want to come back up and?
Yeah, just, you know, the density issue, obviously, we want to maintain that relationship with the neighborhood. This neighborhood has been here a long time. They have a lot of history on this property, or in this neighborhood, and, you know, having a lower density attached to the neighborhood and a higher density on light rail is proper planning principles, first of all, but it also reflects the Newtown CDC model that they started with their micro estates. Makes sense to go from a lower density to a higher density. So kind of wanted to reiterate that. That's why we chose to do it this way. If I spoke to a gentleman at the neighborhood meeting, and actually have to get back with him. I apologize in public that I have not gotten some information he needed yet, but I spoke to him about a little bit about the packaging of the properties and for potential sale in the future, and kind of where it can go, and what types of projects that can be developed there. And even then, I said, you know, we need to respect that neighborhood. Whether you do a two-story step up or, you know, some type of residential product there, it still needs to respect that neighborhood, which is what we're trying to do.
Okay. Questions from the commission? Commissioner Spears.
I want to make sure that I understand, and that the Newtown, they are for sale products. So Newtown will own the properties through the land trust, is that correct?
Correct, they are through the
And
land trust.
which keeps them then permanently affordable. So there's a reason that Newtown structures the
Correct.
deals the way they do.
Yeah, good point.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, on to that point, I was a little confused about which ones are involved with Newtown. Is it all the one-story and two-story, or just the one-story?
All of them.
All of them.
All
Okay.
of them on the Newtown
Yeah.
site.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Which on the drawings is referred to as Lot 2. So
Yeah.
anything, yeah, from there up. Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commission.
All right, discussion amongst the commission. I appreciate, I'm one who usually speaks out for more density along Apache, especially as it ties to the rail and the Transportation Overlay District. So I understand some of the comments that we've heard from the public about more density. What I really appreciate on this particular design is that it's a strong attempt to listen to and respect the neighborhood plans that were put in place all over town that talked about you know, connectivity and proper density and things like that. So there's a little bit of a balancing act. Mr. Hanna brought up a great point. Well, doesn't this just push the problem up the street a little bit? You know, you've got this natural MacArthur place where the transition and the conflict already happens. Well, the difference is if you build 5-story all the way to MacArthur, you force the problem in the transition problem onto an existing neighborhood who's already there and been there for a long time, as opposed to moving it to the lot line between lots 1 and 2, where now you've got people who chose to be a part of this development and invest in it and build it and live there. They're the ones choosing to have 5-story looking over their backyard of their 2-story property. So I think that's probably the only positive to pushing it that direction. I wish there was a little bit more density. The story portions were maybe, there were more than 104 units. But I love the community that this serves. I'm a father who who has people who are members of this community, and we need more of this kind of housing. So 30% of the units that are going to service an underserved part of our city, I'm all for it. So, other comments or motions? Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion and move for the, sorry, I gotta find it real quick. Thank you. I move for the approval of PL 220349 as written.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I will second that motion.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Johnson and a second by Commissioner Casano. Any discussion amongst the commission? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. This will now go to City Council with our recommendation for approval on what date for them? Do we know?
Yes, Chairman, because of the LIHTC application, this was predetermined. We had to work with that timeline. It is going to City Council on February, is it? Or March 2nd? And March 2nd and March 16th, sorry about that.
Fantastic. So if you want to follow this case, come to or WebEx into City Council on March 2nd, where you'll see the first hearing. Staff, anything else you want to share with us? Anything else to talk about?
Would you like me to get the agenda out first, or no, you're okay with it? I will be in touch tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll know more about any scheduling or rescheduling.
okay. So I will try not to get emotional, but
But
this is my last DRC, and it was really amazing working with you all.
well, it's been fantastic having you staffing us, supporting us. Your communication has always been terrific with us, with me as chair. I really appreciate how much you care about this stuff. It's not a job. When you're here, you know, you take it. You know, you take it in, probably take it home, all of that. So thank you very much. I'm happy for the new adventure that you're jumping into. I think that sounds wonderful, and we're going to miss you. Commissioners?
It's been great working with you, Serpana. Congratulations. Very happy for you. You will be sorely missed. You've always been there to bounce questions off of, and you're so great at what you do. And I wish you the best, and hopefully we'll see you again sometime.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Commissioner Casano.
Thank you.
Serpana, I haven't been on the commission as long as these folks have, but all those years, I remember when you first called me, we started talking, you said, you already know this stuff, don't you? But there's a lot more I had to learn, relearn, and you've helped me in that process. And as already been stated, you know, you've always been there when we've had a question. You responded very quickly, professionally, and the conduct of the meetings is wonderful, and we will miss you. But I know it's an exciting adventure you're going on, and you're going to get to build a whole new team. So congratulations and best of luck.
I bet she still watches us on Channel 11 too. She'll hit all the meetings. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Anything else, Commission? No? All right, meeting adjourned.